Hey guys, it's me Sam from SJM Gamer Tech. This is my review or initial impressions for Medal of Honor Warfighter. Now, the game has already been out for a while, and it took me a while to to get the review down. And so I guess this is just my final review for Medal of Honor Warfighter. Now, Medal of Honor Warfighter is a direct sequel to Medal of Honor 2010, as I like to call it, which got mixed feelings, mixed reviews from both critics and consumers alike. Most of them are negative, but some consumers really liked Medal of Honor. And Medal of Honor Warfighter combines the power of Frostbite 2 and a more engaging military narrative to bring what we have now, Medal of Honor Warfighter. Now, did it work? Necessarily, yes, but what really comes down to is the actual structure of this game is a little broken, and that's what I'm going to get into now. Now, first off, the production quality of this game, no one can deny that Medal of Honor Warfighter is a brilliantly beautiful game. Medal of Honor Warfighter supports wonderful animations and great lighting. Also in the game, you'll find wonderful landscapes and just great character animations throughout the game, especially in the campaign. Now, the problem here is the destructible environments are sort of lacking. Now, they're not as present as they are in the Battlefield franchise, which also uses the same Frostbite technology. Maybe this is because DICE, are the creators of the Frostbite engine, and they weren't here to maybe counsel a little bit, or maybe some of that horsepower for the destructible environments was moved over to the animations, or something, I don't know, but the destructible environments are very lackluster here, which could be a problem to some people, or it could just be a minor problem to maybe people like me. But just, something to put out there and to keep in your minds. Now, the multiplayer takes a big graphical drop from the campaign. The campaign is beautiful. Multiplayer is just more like, good. But this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but for you graphical whizzes, this might, hit you on the head a little bit. The multiplayer takes a drop, but not a dramatic drop. Now, the game has a couple glitches, a couple bugs and glitches here and there. First off, the campaign glitches. Every once in a while, I would experience a glitch where your AI wasn't working properly, they were just shooting at random walls, or I experienced a glitch in the sniper mission when I was finally done with the sniper part of that level. The helicopter wouldn't come in, and I was basically stuck there, so I had to restart to last checkpoint. Moving on to the multiplayer glitches and bugs, and negatives on this side. The multiplayer, for example, hit detection is very off, and I'm not just saying this to complain. Hit detection is sort of off. The spawns are fine. They were fixed in the day one patch. But there's, it's just, here and there, people are falling through walls. Just some minor stuff, but it can kind of build up after a while. I know Danger Close will release more patches in the future, though, since they're already releasing a bunch of server updates. Now, I did install both the HD content pack, and I did install both game discs into my hard drive, the multiplayer and the campaign disc, because I'm using a Xbox 360 and maybe not a PC or a PS3. So I installed both game discs for the best and most optimal experience. And I really didn't experience as much bugs as most other people, but they are there. So finally, with the graphics, this is a beautiful game, but not without its production maybe downfalls. Moving on to the campaign, and this was supposed to be the highlight of the game. The single player basically focuses on Preacher, a tier 1 super soldier who's kind of distant from his family. And you basically have to destroy or take down this terrorist organization, and you have to take down the cleric, this, super powerful terrorist leader, from shipping what we like to call PETN. It's basically these explosives that are going around everywhere, and when they get too close to your family and they start to put your family and the United States in harm's way, this is when you jump back in, to the boots of a tier 1 super soldier. Now, the story, focuses closely on Preacher, but you do play as two different characters, Preacher and Stump. But the problem here is not the story itself, it's the character development. There's not a lot of character development in this game. Yes, it is more emotional, it is more intense than most first-person shooters, but it never hits that point where you actually feel raw emotions for these characters, because you don't know them well enough, especially for newcomers like me to the Medal of Honor Warfighter who didn't really play Medal of Honor 2010 all that much, who don't know these characters that well. You don't feel that much emotion. And even at the most climatic part of the game, and yes, it is very intense, that one part of the game, I'm not going to spoil it, I did feel some emotion, but not to the point I think that Danger Close was trying to hit. Other than that, though, it's very on rails, it's very paced. You're going to get about, I'd say, 5 to 8 hours with this campaign. It might be a little longer to some people, but yeah, I played it on normal mode. I think I got around 6 to 7 hours. This is probably including some of the glitches, but other than that, you're going to get a good playing time. It's, a fun experience, and you're probably going to enjoy it. Now, the campaign sort of falls flat because of some random glitches, not enough character development, and some repetitive missions, but it is a lot better than most first-person shooter campaigns. I'm going to have to give it that. Especially the Call of Duty franchise and the Battlefield franchise. Comparing it to those, highly respected first-person shooters, respectively. Moving on to the multiplayer, which is what we come to first-person shooters, mostly for. The multiplayer is on its own. It really is. I love it. But it doesn't also come without its flaws, with, hit detection problems, spawning problems, stuff like that. Most of the stuff will be fixed in the future, but it's kind of annoying now. The multiplayer basically consists of the Fireteam Buddy system, where you have 2 people on each fire team, and there's 5 fire teams on teams of 10. Just take that in for a second. Basically, you can choose different nationalities, and there's 6 main classes. There's 12 nationalities altogether. No, not 12 nationalities. 12 special ops altogether with multiple nationalities, so you can choose to make a variety of combinations with your classes. And there's a heck load of customization here in this game. I will say that for the least, there's a lot of customization, and it will keep you coming back because of this very in-depth, player control. And this is what makes, the game very, you want to come back and play it. From the guns, you can just customize pretty much anything. The barrel, the stock, the ammunition types, the sight. There's lots of different sights for every gun, and there's lots of different guns, especially since there's 6 different classes. Everything is fine-tuned. Now, the controls feel tight. Once again, the multiplayer does take a little graphical drop, and there's not as much destructible environments, but it's very satisfying when you get a kill, because there's 5 different modes. And even though most of them are pretty base modes like Sector Control, Domination, and Team Deathmatch, and then there's also newer modes, maybe like Hotspot and Homeroom, you're still going to get that feeling that you're accomplished because there's that feeling of tactical, team, work that you don't have in other first-person shooters, most likely, because you actually have to work with your buddy, because you can provide them ammo, act as a spawning point, give them health, and kind of be there for them. Now, the multiplayer does have some of its downfalls. Like, it's not very streamlined, the menus, and there's still some problems running around in the server. But other than that, it's a pretty basic and very fine-tuned multiplayer system that I think most people will enjoy if you like in-depth customization with your games. Now, Medal of Honor Warfighter, I'm not going to give a final score for, because I could never really come up with one, or I'd have to give multiple scores. Basically, Medal of Honor Warfighter is a great military shooter. Despite what some reviewers have been giving it, it's just had a sloppy release. It's a fantastic military shooter, but the problem is the foundation surrounding it. If you look at the structure as a whole, basically, if you look at the building as a whole, it's a great game. But what's actually holding up the building is a little broken. And that's the problem here. They can fix most of these problems in patches, but some problems like character development and maybe lack of story elements can leave people holding back from this campaign. But if you want that intense experience, and you really have some friends you want to play a game with, and you want to try something new besides Call of Duty or Battlefield, maybe Medal of Honor is the way to go. That's my final review for Medal of Honor Warfighter. Thanks for watching, and this has been an SJ Mix Gamer Tech video. Thanks.